What's going on, CSTers? Welcome to the big show this evening. FC Cincinnati fans, you get to be excited for once on a Monday evening because FC Cincinnati has done something they have never done in their Major League Soccer history, and that has come from behind to win a ball game. They win over the weekend 2-1 over Montreal. So we're going to be discussing that match. We're going to be talking about our best and worst, offering up our best and worst. There's going to be a lot of bests and maybe still some worsts in this match as well. And then a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by SBI Soccer's Tyler Snipes to get his thoughts on FC Cincinnati, what he has seen over the first few weeks of the season for the Orange and Blue. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. Leave us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com or hit us up on Twitter as well at Cincy Soccer Talk. Of course, this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk is brought to you by the fine folks at Fulcrum Fives, Cincinnati's newest five-a-side soccer facility offering leagues, pickup games, and field rentals for team training, located at 11510 Grooms Road in Blue Ash. Fulcrum Fives is a uniquely crafted facility providing both high-quality soccer and a welcoming environment. Whether you are an experienced player, beginner, or a spectator, Fulcrum Fives helps bolster your passion for the beautiful game and provides access to a soccer-loving community. Their field surface was created in Italy from a FIFA-accredited turf manufacturer featuring non-infill turf, so no more rubber pellets, and it's designed specifically for high-quality 5-on-5 play. Adult pickup games are launching in June on Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. each night, and CST fans get 15% off their first pickup soccer fee. Market of Honor feeling very generous, folks, so make sure you take them up on this offer. Use promo code SoccerTalk to sign up on their website, fulcrumfives.com, or you can email them soccer@fulcrumfives.com to join. You can always find out what the folks over at Fulcrum Fives are up to by following them on Instagram and Facebook at Fulcrum Fives, and we appreciate their support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, let's welcome in my cast of characters for this week. I start with the one and the only, Brian Weigel. Brian, what's going on? I shouldn't say the one and the only. I mean, I know that's...
Technically, I'm one of two.
You're
There's
right.
Nothing there. Freakish.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. What was that stat you let off the show with?
FC Cincinnati's never come from behind to win an MLS game.
Haven't heard that before 18 times this week. I'm joking. Joking, pal. No, I'm pumped. It's weird. It took us 3 years to get to that point. But good for us. Excited that my Saturday wasn't ruined. My Monday wasn't kind of ruined. So this is great. I'm here. Got a nice Coors Light. Gonna drink that, polish that off tonight, and have some fun, man. Let's just enjoy ourselves. Talk about a win. 3 points.
I'm with you there. Let's talk about 3 points. Let's head over next to he hasn't stopped since the show started.
I was going to say, make him wait.
Jeff, the one and only Jeff Tebbets. Jeff, what's going on, buddy?
I'm not actually celebrating. I'm just trying to get all the cicadas out of the room right now.
That's amazing.
I'm still very excited. This is incredible. I mean, the fact that they were able to get 3 points against a team that had come out of the gate really well.
Yeah,
I'm pumped. This is great. I want to see us win games in a row now. One of the times that we faced our next opponent, we actually went to their place right after a win, and we got another win. So let's do this thing.
Jeff is feeling good tonight, so I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts. Oh my goodness!
I'm so glad Clay has to follow that.
This is unfair. This is unfair.
Welcome back to the show, Clay. How are you?
I'm doing great. Anyone who follows like English or European soccer knows that if you wake up early and you watch a game, it can just ruin your entire day. We had a 1 p.m. Saturday, and it's like, okay, I have to find out how to deal with myself between 3 and till Monday. And it was a pleasant weekend. It was fantastic. It was just, Brian mentioned it, it wasn't always the prettiest result, but I mean, that's soccer, and Montreal got soccered by FC Cincinnati. And that doesn't happen to us. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying life. It's been good.
As you should. So let's take a look at this match. FC Cincinnati, thought they went ahead in the match against Montreal. Goal rolled off for offside. We thought Lucho Acosta had scored, but Brenner deemed to be offside, and then FC Cincinnati almost concede a goal. I don't know how Kyoto misses that sitter at the end of the first half. I mean, that was Fernando Adi range right there and could not finish. Thankfully for FC Cincinnati fans. In the second half, though, he did manage to make amends, finding Jordi Mihalovic there in the second half to get the lead for Montreal. But then some substitutions were made, some tactics were changed by Jaap Stam, and believe it or not, Jurgen Locadia, that's right, Jurgen Locadia gets on the score sheet for FC Cincinnati with a wonderful placed header off of a set-piece corner kick to knot things up at 1. And then late in the match, I mean, you talk about one of the best crosses we've ever seen. Mazzarita finding the head of Gustavo Vallecilla there in the 86th minute, and FC Cincinnati takes the lead 2-1. And after that, it was, I don't know if you want to say smooth sailing, but the orange and blue, they come out with 3 points. This is the first time, and I tweeted about this over the weekend, this is the first points FC Cincinnati had achieved from losing positions since match day 2 of their expansion season back in 2019. And that was against Atlanta United. They were down 1-0, managed to get a goal late from, anybody remember?
Roland Lamar.
Roland Lamar, that's right, to knot things up at 1. But other than that, that is the only time FC Cincinnati had achieved points from a losing position in their Major League Soccer existence. So with that said, let's offer up our best and worst presented by FastSigns Central Cincinnati. I'll start with you, Bri. What was your best and worst from this weekend?
Well, the best now is that you mentioned Roland Lamar, Memphis 901 special extraordinaire. No, I'm joking. No, my best, I think, he's been in the doghouse for so long, but Alan Cruz, I thought he did very well in organizing the team. Yeah, it was a low block. We gave up a lot of positioning. We kind of welcomed their attack, I guess, a little bit, but kind of that bend, don't break mentality, I thought was pretty good out of FC Cincinnati. And, I think we've all been rooting for Allen to kind of find his niche on the team. And I think he's really starting to get there over the past couple matches. My worst is, and I know he had a great cross, but I just think the consistent production from the wingbacks in this match, I was hoping that they would get involved in the attack a little bit more than they did versus, with the counterattacks when we really ran our 2 forwards, Acosta and one of the other midfielders. So I think, it's nitpicking a little bit, but I'd like to see how those two can kind of get involved more in the scheme of things going forward. But of course, the worst was that miss of the decade coined by the guys at Extra Time Radio, Romel. Yeah, however you say. Thank you, Clay. Appreciate that there. So I got to tell him what Ted Lasso says to Sam Obisanya. Be a goldfish, Sam. Be a goldfish. Forget it. Get on by, pal.
All right, your best and worst, Jeff?
Let's see. Let's start with the worst, just because I want to get the worst out of the way. We should, praise the best. The worst, it's that garbage goal that they gave up. That's 3 straight goals. If you really look at the last 2 goals they gave up against Miami, where there's just no organization, Vermeer off his line way too in the wrong direction, and just everybody looking like Keystone Cops trying to get the ball out of the net. I want to say my best, and this sort of goes off of what was mentioned. I really think Matarrita, I want to give him the best just because over these first 5 games, he's got 3 assists. I think coach said that he was going to get 11 or something this year. But the fact that he's got 3, and I think the most that we've had in a season in MLS was when Ledesma had 5 in the first year. But also you look at the left back production. I think Blake Smith might've had 4 one year. So the fact that he's almost got enough production as Blake Smith did tells you a lot, how well he's dishing the ball in these first 5 games. Yeah,
he's been very important for the Orange and Blue from an offensive standpoint. Clay, how about you? Best and worst?
The best was all the crow I ate this weekend.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and I absolutely deserved it. It was delicious crow. I was happy to eat it. Obviously,
delicious for Brian too.
I'm ready for some Skyline, baby.
You're jumping on my segment. I had it. I had it planned out. I had it planned out, but basically, yes. Not only did I bet Brian that I'll get to in a second. But, I on Twitter, and I got all the flack you should get when you tweet something stupid. When Barreal came off in the 60th minute, I was like, why are we replacing Barreal with a player that's worse than him? And because Barreal also got subbed off against Miami too soon, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then Locadia shows up 10 minutes later, an absolute beautiful header. Jeff Cameron plays the ball back to the back post, across his body, moving away, heading it over his shoulder. It's really impressive physical skill to pull off a header like that. And the worst, though, is because of all the crow I ate, I now have to help Brian eat Skyline, and that hurts. But I'm happy Locadia did it to me. I'm happy for him, generally speaking. It's good to see him to score. Hopefully he can hit a little mini run before the end of the month.
Yeah, to refresh everybody's memory, Brian made a bet with Clay that Locadia would score at least one time before his loan deal ended, coming up here in just a few weeks.
Boom.
So he did just that, and honestly, probably should have had an assist as well to Alan Cruz. Had Alan been able to finish that ball, although I think we all would agree here in FCC land that definitely should have been a penalty. But that's neither here nor there. We've got some great best and worst here in the chat room. This is from Steve Bowercord. Best, Cameron is a beast. Brings some much needed swagger and toughness. Worst, wears Brenner. So that's a good one. Let's see here. This is from Alex Muddyman on YouTube. He says, best, Cameron, again, his composure is incredible, especially in one-on-one scenarios. Worst, Vermeer, we got lucky with offside calls and a horrible miss. Then the one goal that was scored, he was scrambling. So, yeah, I mean, as far as my worst, I think I also have to give it to Vermeer. I don't know what he's doing there on that possession with Kyoto. Like, if you're going to get there, you got to get there. And that just looked like, once again, Keystone Cops defending by FC Cincinnati, from all accounts, right? I mean, I don't know why Stanko is chasing Kyoto. Like, why aren't you playing the trap there? Like, why are you so far behind your back line, allowing him to remain onside? Like, again, that's not to fault Stanko. He hasn't played a whole lot at center back, but again, that was disappointing, right? So I'll combine it with Vermeer and Stanko on that play to concede, along with Cameron kind of ball watching and then realizing, oh, Mihalovic is in behind. We've got to do something, and it was too late. So that's my worst. But if I had to give a best, how about Gustavo Vallecilla, right? The 20-year-old just arrived in the country not that many weeks ago and already making an impact for FC Cincinnati, scoring a beautiful header. That's not exactly easy to do. And I'll tell you what, defensively, a lot of work to do there. But again, offensively, that was beautiful. Bri, you want to add something to that?
Well, how many times have we said this? We can't rely on Vallecilla. We can't rely on some of our young U22 players to be consistent contributors. Okay. But already through 2 games, you've seen an immense progression in that center back role. And I think a large part of that, it's due to his play. Yeah, he makes some boneheaded plays. I think there was a errant pass somewhere. I couldn't really tell with the quality of the TV, but yeah, I think so far, I mean, I think he's everything we've asked for and more out of a starting young center back. So I'm pretty pumped up there.
Yeah. So those were our best and worst, presented by FastSigns Central Cincinnati. They design, fabricate, and install everything from banners to illuminated building signs. FastSigns Central Cincinnati is a preferred partner of Xavier Athletics, and they work with many high school, college, and pro sports teams in Cincinnati, including Cintas Center, Nippert Stadium, Paul Brown Stadium, Great American Ballpark, the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, Fifth Third Arena, and others. Stop in the FastSigns on Highland Avenue next to Lowe's in Oakley and tell Mike Williams that CST sent you. Again, that is our best and worst, presented by FastSigns Central Cincinnati. All right, gents, let's talk about the tactics, right? The formation change. When you saw that FC Cincinnati was rolling out a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, whichever way you want to play it, what immediately went through your head, Bri, when you saw the tactics change?
Well, I think we had this discussion a couple weeks ago with Coach, is how we wanted Yop to kind of progress through the season. I think we kind of thought that, okay, let's try to push out that 4-3 and see how we can progress and learn as a group together. But at some point, you got to go for points, especially with the troubling start we've had. So I did like that we were very tough to break down in certain ways. Yeah, I know the offside trap allowed things to look a little more offensive for Montreal, but I think overall we handled ourselves pretty well. That seemed to be a tough formation to truly beat over the course of the game. So I was pretty pumped up, and I guess my only question was why the hell Stanko was in there versus Hagelin, but if we're nitpicking over little things like that, I think we got to be pretty happy.
Jeff, you got thoughts on that?
I mean, that same thing was going through my mind in terms of why Stanko in the back. I thought for a moment there when he was in the lineup that he'd be pulling maybe even the center, sort of like the key where Cameron might have inhabited. But when they put on the sort of the formation on TV, or it was Stanko on the right, sort of made me scratch my head and wonder why Hags couldn't have been there. But maybe they just wanted to have their guys rest up a little bit. It could have been a good time to have him just, recalibrate and maybe come in late. But I mean, the other thing is that it allowed, Yop to sort of reorganize the team once he found out that Montreal was starting to tire down in the last 20 minutes of the game. He reassembled the team, brought in some offense, and I think that probably pushed us over the edge.
I will say this about Caleb Stanko. We've criticized Hagelin to an extent pretty justifiably about his inability to really play the ball out of the back. Stanko finished this game with 80% passing completion. He is a center defensive mid, but his comfortability on the ball, I think, helped building out of the back a bit. And you could tell that was really important. He spoke about it with Alex Steck after the match. He wasn't incredible, but I rated him relatively highly this weekend. I thought he played decently. And I'm a huge Hagelin fan. I'm still buzzing about that goal at TQL, but I think Stanko played well. I think to Jeff's point, the thing that really stood out to me was his in-game adjustments. Not only with bringing on Locadia in the 60th minute, but about a few minutes before the goal, they equalized. Stom's at the water break. He's huddling Cruz and Locadia and some guys in Kubo around. And you can tell as soon as that huddle's over, the formation shifted to more of a 4-4-2. I think Coach will talk about this on his next episode, but that really, I think, changed the game. And we were on the front foot for the last about half hour of the match. It was really great to see in-game adjustments being made that were effective.
I'd say the last 20 minutes or so, because there was a Montreal goal when Yama missed header, offside, good counter.
That's fair. No.
I'm joking. But what I'm saying,
a little messed up.
I do have timestamps because I'm a loser. I'm holding up my pad right here, and it's all Montreal. And then right here in the last little quadrant is at the 70th minute, FCC has momentum. So that was cool to see. But no, I think a lot of it goes to, and I've seen this in a lot of the comments, and I love our fans, our listeners. They're very smart people. So if you ever comment, please keep putting them on there. I think a lot of that part is Montreal was gassed with 20 minutes to go. And I think we looked a little gassed towards the end of the first half because we were chasing the ball a little bit more. We became a little bit more compact and reserved. But I know we talk about tactics and things like that. And I think a large part of our change in our progress has been due to the player quality. But I do think there was some methodology, of course, from Jaap Stam that turned out with 3 points. You can't really question that too hard. Is it a long-term thing? I don't think so. But if it's going to be something that we can utilize in the dog days of summer on the road and get really good at it and be tough to beat on the road and be like your favorite British club, Man United, I'm 100% for it. Be tough to beat on the road and punch them in the mouth at home.
You saw it as soon as they equalized. They did not stop. They were hungry they didn't want to settle for a draw at any point in the last 20 minutes of that match. They were ready to get the game winner. And you're absolutely right. We talk about tactics or analytics and all that stuff. The eye test is simple. Montreal was just getting called offside, and that's all they could manage. You could debate whether we got lucky or if it was an offside trap. I don't care. We looked better. No. We had the character and the drive and the fight to end up getting that second goal. And it's a over-talked stat at this point. Oh, the first comeback win, but that is a big deal. We almost pulled it off against Miami. We pulled it off this week. that's the kind of character improvement that I'm enjoying right now.
Let's talk about that. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
There is one thing to bring up, I think, with all of this being talked about, and this does have a little bit of longer term than just the game. You look at the last goal they scored against Miami off of a set piece. You look at the 2 goals that they scored here, both of them were off set pieces. In the past, it was when we had a corner kick, I was dreading our corner kicks last year. We had nobody who could really kick that except for maybe Harris Beduinin. But this year, we're getting good crosses off of set pieces. If we can now start scoring in the field of play, then I think we've got ourselves an incredibly good offense.
Yeah, I go back to the whole, watching this team over the past 3 seasons, there's been no fight back, like none. And to see it the last 2 matches has been refreshing. I don't know if it's a recipe for success going forward. At this point, I frankly don't care. I'm just excited that they got a result over the weekend, that they won a match that a lot of folks didn't think they were going to win. So it is what it is. I don't care about the tactics. At some point, 3 points is 3 points, and that's what this team needed desperately. So, of course, we want to hear your feedback. Hit us up, feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter as well, @CincySoccerTalk. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout out. Thanks to our tremendous supporters. So let's give it up to Tim Bronsel, Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley, Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. This portion of Cincinnati Soccer Talk is brought to you by the fine folks at Rhinehaus. Rhinehaus is Over the Rhine's original sports bar and the city's best soccer bar. They have 15 TVs ready to show you pretty much any match you're looking for. As an official FC Cincinnati pub partner, Rhinehaus is always a great place to be for home and away matches. They're just a short 15-minute march to TQL Stadium, which makes them a perfect spot for your pre- and post-game beverage needs. Recently voted best draft beer selection in the city, you will always be able to find something delicious to help calm your nerves before the home match. And then cheers to victory, hopefully after the match. Make Rhinehaus your Rhine home for FCC game days and follow them on Twitter @RhinehausOTR. Well, I am pleased to welcome this gentleman to the show. It is long overdue. I don't know why it's taken us so long to get him on this show, but let's welcome in the man of the hour, Tyler Snipes over at SBI Soccer. Tyler, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you, sir?
How do you do, everybody? Couldn't be better. How are you guys?
We're well. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you being here. You've covered FC Cincinnati for the last couple of seasons from here in the Queen City for SBI Soccer. But the last 2 weeks for FC Cincinnati has been vastly different than what you've covered in years past. So what have you made of the last 2 weeks for the Orange and Blue?
Yeah, I'm still kind of not over the shock, to be honest with you. Not to go too far back to Miami, but I mean, 6-7 years ago, if you would have told any of us that Gonzalo Higuain braces would be saving a game for a Phil Neville coach team against a Jaap Stam coach team at a soccer-specific stadium in Cincinnati, none of us would have believed you. So really this season is it's just nuts with everything the club has going on. But then on the field, it's been linear progress. I think we can all agree there. The Miami game was competitive. The MLS prides itself so much on parity, and the team looked like it was ready to be part of it. And then obviously getting the first win of the season is huge, and it can be a massive turning point to make up for the early points deficit.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, speaking of the shock, what was it like sitting in the press box of TQL Stadium that day?
It was nuts. It was not nearly as nuts as just getting there early and like walking around and just, I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff. Just seeing the concession stands and seeing, the view from the Bailey and looking at all the TIFOs up close for the first time and, however long. Just really wild. And then as far as the press box itself, I mean, it's ready for international events. It's up there. I've been to I'm forgetting more than I can remember probably, but it's up there. It's top notch with all of them. They even have a locker room for the press. I've never seen that before in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Let's talk again. I look at, I know it's only been 5 matches for FC Cincinnati, but it's almost like a tale of 2 different teams, right? I mean, we saw that first match against Nashville, they went out of the gates and had that big lead. And of course, we had that middle portion when Luciano was out because he was injured. And now he comes back, and all of a sudden it's almost like a completely different team. We knew Acosta was going to be a big part and a big cog for this team. I don't think we realized how important until we didn't see him those 2 matches and the impact he's had the last couple of weeks.
No, I mean, he's so important. And when you see him on the ball, just the little tiny things that he does and how much attention that, he needs to just, try and be contained. It's crazy, but kind of like Jeff was talking about, there hasn't been a ton of goals from the run of play. And I think that, as important as he's been, there is still something for him to prove. And these next couple of weeks, you're going to look for, dare I say it, more production. He can be as nice as he is on the ball, but there's got to be numbers to back it up. And I think he's got a lot more to give than what we've seen.
Tyler, yeah, this is Jeff. Just we've seen progress, but the summer window is going to be coming up pretty soon. So we'll be blunt with this. If you were in the GM role, what would you look to add to this team in the summer window?
Whew. There's a couple of ways you can go. I think a headlining center back is definitely
another one.
A bona fide headliner. You guys have better sources than I do. So far, nobody's given us anything on the Chiellini front, which seems ridiculous. But with this team, you never know. And then in the attack, when times go back to normal and Jaap can really execute that 4-3-3 that he really, seemingly wants to go to as an ideal plan. I think you've got problems that really aren't being talked about a lot on the left wing. There's really not much in the way of keeping Locadia, just when you look at the hard facts there. And I think that they've tried to make a position battle with he and Calvin Harris, but Calvin didn't seem hurt. There's nothing indicating that he is. Didn't even make the trip to Fort Lauderdale. So I think that the left wing, and the fact that Atanga hasn't really been touched since his debut in Orlando, I think that there's clearly room for another attacker. And it's probably you're going to look for somebody who's established rather than somebody to prove themselves, because they already have so many people trying to prove themselves right now.
Yeah, I'm all for maybe even if we do a interleague trade somehow to bring in somebody who's got some more experience in the league. And I mean, I think with so many new players that could help. So what do you think so far about, I guess, do you think that this is a team that can build and still make a genuine playoff run? I mean, I know it's super early, but do you see enough out of that, out of this group?
Not quite yet. I mean, I wouldn't be betting on it because, as you guys touched on, it was kind of a wild formation, and Jaap really attacked this one tactically. And Montreal is, though they were getting points, not the cream of the crop of the Eastern Conference. And I'm not seeing a playoff team quite yet. And I think that FC Cincinnati could really benefit from some type of extra competition, whether the US Open Cup, which it doesn't look like they're going to make that under the current format, if that's even still on. But yeah, kind of like Nick said, when Luciano goes down, it's a completely different team. There's really not much of a system, and there's really not much of if you tried to make an A squad and a B squad, it would be kind of hard, and you'd be looking at a lot of players in the B squad who haven't even sniffed the field this year. So I think when you look at playoff teams, there's a lot more quality depth, a lot more name brand players, and the team has ways to go. And a lot of these players need their chance to show to really prove, that they are capable of handling starts when called upon.
So we had Clifford Adams here in our chat tonight bring up the improvement out of Kubo. He says Kubo had a good game and is our leading passer. So what do you make? I think I've seen a huge change in him over the past 2 games, but really specifically this match, just feeling a little bit more comfortable, having his back to the oncoming attackers, receiving that ball from the defense, and then turning and moving the ball forward.
Yeah, the experiment, I mean, it's going well. I hate to, be super critical of him, but then when you look at that Nani goal in Orlando where he was just like on ice skates, and to be fair, Nani can do that to everybody, but it is an experiment, and Yop wouldn't be committing, to putting him in the central midfield and making this work if he didn't believe in him. I think Yop is truly playing his best men, and when we look at the, the need for a left winger, Kubo could just go back there if it was something that Yop wanted to do, but clearly he doesn't. So I think he's there to stay. And I think that there is, as you said, there's good moments, but it's also not natural. And I just don't think that, I wonder how many other teams he would be starting on in the league. I think he's really starting there by necessity right now.
We've seen the last couple of weeks, Tyler, a guy in Kamahila Makocho who, since he arrived in Cincinnati, you can almost argue he's one of the first names on the team sheet. But the last couple of weeks, we have not seen him. What do you make of that? I'm assuming this is a tactical decision from Yop to go with Cruz and Kubo here to provide maybe a little bit more athleticism. But are you surprised that move has been made?
I'm super surprised. The only justification I can think of, and I'm not sure if you guys remember this, it was one of the last weeks of the preseason where Harris Medunjanin just kind of stepped down and said, like, I'm not going to be a starter this year. And then you hear everybody talking about total football and kind of like coming in and out of lines as needed. And that's a very athletic system. And it sounded like Harris, whether he, admitted it or was just kind of told like, hey, you might not be able to hold down a 90-minute shift. I'm wondering if the same thing's going on with Camo there, because he had a really good showing last year and a lot to build on. And a holding midfielder just hasn't been present in these last 2 weeks that have been surprisingly, good. So maybe they don't need a player like him, but I would argue that they do. But yeah, to answer succinctly, I am surprised, and I really don't know why, but I'm not the head coach of the team, and I've never been the head coach of any team. So I'm sure there's some reasoning there, but I'm not aligning really many puzzle pieces to make sense of it, truly.
Well, we're going to make you the head coach here. Nate Gilman brought up earlier today in one of the things for CST, talking about this new 5-3-2 formation. And he suggested that we shouldn't see too much more of it in the future. What are your thoughts on this formation that Yop broke out?
I think it was great for the game against Montreal. And he admitted that it was something he did to try and mimic their system because he was a lot more honest than he needed to be, truthfully, in the post game on Saturday. Basically said like they were going to run into trouble with that 4-3-3 that he typically likes to run. And I know that he hasn't run a 4-3-3 every single time this week. So this was the right matchup for it. Caleb Stanko being on the back line, that's kind of like it was really about formation rather than personnel. And it clearly prevailed, though they were vulnerable at times. But something not to take up too much time on it, but something that I kind of get when I look at other teams across the league, and we're not too far away from preseason mode, it seems like the more established teams really focus on versatility and being able to show 2 or 3 different speeds and have 3 or 4 different lineups that they're really comfortable with. And the less established teams like FC Cincinnati, was, or still is, truthfully, really focus on the system and trying to beat teams with what they have. So I don't think it was a concession on Yop's part. I really do think it was an evolution, because he wasn't getting points with what he had. And this was a beatable team. And I think he did exactly what he needed to do before the game, to make the right decisions. And it worked. But looking ahead to Revs and the Crew and the Philadelphia Union, the really strong in-conference games, I don't think you're going to see an experimental lineup. FC Cincinnati is going to have to do what they do best against better opponents.
How pumped?
Go ahead, right?
I would say, how pumped are you for the storyline of Jeff Cameron versus Bruce Arena?
It's wild. I mean, it's hey, I don't know the backstory, to be truthful. You might have to educate me there, but it's, what I mean? It is 2 great, American figures in recent time at TQL Stadium. It's just kind of one of those things, these magical moments that you just, it's just really a pinch me thing. If I would have wrote that down on paper for you 6 years ago, you would have told me to get out of here,
Yeah. Amen to that.
We're hanging out with Tyler Snipes from SBI Soccer. Again, go check him out over at sbisoccer.com. He's been covering Cincinnati soccer for a couple of years now, Tyler. I will say this. A lot was made about bringing in Brenner this offseason. One of the highest transfer fees a Major League Soccer team has ever made on a player in the league. and yet not a whole lot to show for it from the goals perspective. But just correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty sure it's just the one against Nashville. What do you make of where he kind of stands? Is this partly because of missing Acosta for a couple of weeks? But what's your early take on FC Cincinnati's DP?
Looks a lot like Lacadia last year.
Please don't say that.
It's just the shoe kind of fits. Truthfully, and I don't know if you guys have, followed every move that he's made, but he has been, invisible. I think in the Miami game, he had like one come off his chest that, could have turned into something, but it's not like he's even really getting shots. I can't even remember really any good chances for him. Yeah, they're staple to that though. The difference between him and Lacadia is that Lacadia can go back. Brenner, you're stuck with it. Nick, about Acosta being out, I mean, is that a fair excuse? The beauty is going to be in the eye of the beholder on that one. But Acosta's been back for 2 games, and there's still not any production from Brenner. And that link, I don't know if it's broken. I don't know if it's something they're doing tactically. I don't know what they want, but it's got to be something better than this. And this city, they've already given their heart to Brenner. They're going to want more production, but it's very clear that he's not the Joseph Martinez type who can just put on the cape and rise above it like everybody hoped he would. So is it a formation thing? Is it an Acosta thing? Have they had time to get familiar? I mean, you can make a lot of excuses, but I don't think he is the guy that everybody wanted him to be early on.
Well, okay. So I want to follow up with you on this, because I've been giving, and I think I've been criticized a little bit, but I give a lot of our younger guys like Brenner, like Barrial, a little bit more time, like a little bit more breathing space. I guess, there's a lot of pressure thrown on these guys. And I think that versus being in a position where we need him to perform and get 10 or 12 goals, I think he needs to be put into a position to succeed. And this weekend's matchup, I wouldn't classify that. It was get the ball to Acosta, pray he can get a numbers advantage, maybe get the ball to Barrial or Brenner. So, I mean, I think we'll see a dramatic shift with him later in the year. Because, I mean, was it 20 years old, 19 years old, coming in a new country and with
21.
No service. Yeah, 21. Okay, but no service. No service so far.
No service. It's just there's guys who can rise above that, and then there's guys who can't. So
that's a good point.
I think everybody wanted him to score a goal for every game. Like, some games he's going to lay an egg, some games he's going to score 2. But I think people wanted, more than like 10, 15, maybe even 20 goals out of him. And it just seems like he's really far behind that projected clip. And I don't know. I just don't know. Like, time can heal it, yes, but I just don't see an obvious fix. It just seems like he's gone, and I don't know where he is, but he's out there, Yeah,
and actually, now that I think about it, his 1 goal came from a penalty.
Yeah.
So that's not boding well. Now, again, I agree. Bri, young. Look how long it took Barrial to finally start making an impact for FC Cincinnati. It took him, I'm hoping that it does not take a Brenner this long to start making an impact. But yeah, for as much money as they spent, I think you were fully expecting to see an impact there. I know, Jeff, you had a follow-up question regarding the goalkeeper spot.
Yeah, I mean, we're going sort of the other end of the spectrum here. We're talking about Brenner and being a young international position, but regarding like bringing in Vermeer all of a sudden, and suddenly Lund gets shipped out to Phoenix. Really, I mean, do you have sort of any thoughts on really what this goalkeeper position should look like now that we have sort of 3 veterans in the wings?
It really beats me. Truthfully, the signing, I know that Jaap has like a close history with Vermeer, and Vermeer was he wasn't like the bona fide starter, but he was getting starts at a very good year at LAFC, and maybe there's a little bit of magic there. Maybe it's a style thing, but I really don't know. And I don't think that TT was really having a bad year considering the circumstances. I mean, that Cropper, you could argue that it's one and done, just 5 set pieces. It was all different flavors. They just got beat up that game, but I get why he's going to be buried. But yeah, I I can't justify it. I do think it was an excessive addition, and I don't think that there's room for both next year, certainly. So Ben was somebody who should have been getting those reps and maybe should have gotten, that start against NYFC or New York City or something like that. You would much rather have him there to collect those experiences. But I think it's clear that there's just he was never going to work, and they clearly prefer experience, even if it is to the tune of two kind of like mega internationals. All things considered, when you look at the spectrum of MLS goalkeepers, they've kind of got riches there, and if they're bunkering, you know what I mean, and if they're trying to defend for 90 minutes, it doesn't matter who's back there. It's just going to go like that. So I haven't seen any flashes of Vermeer that make it clear why he's starting over TT. And I don't think that TT in 2021, at least, has been given a fair shake. But, you have the tape from 2019, you have the tape from 2020. And if Yop doesn't see a future, that's okay. It's not super obvious to me why that was necessary, truthfully.
Dude, I'm racking my brain over it because Teton had a better passing percentage last year. And now I know in 2 games versus 2 games that Vermeer's higher, but yeah, I mean, I don't see it right now. So I hope he has a dramatic change soon.
And I think you'll have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure TT has more MLS starts than Vermeer too.
He does.
Like a lot more. I think Vermeer only made 10 starts in 1 season, and TT's been in the league for 2 years, and he had a bit of a position battle with Richie in 2019, but won it pretty early on. So yeah, really, really beats me.
Yeah, especially if you look at that Nashville game. I mean, he was standing on its head. I mean, I know there was some goals in that game that you're kind of maybe, especially on that chipped ball, you're thinking maybe TT should do better on. But
it was 12.
I don't know if Vermeer
saves, right?
Right. I don't think Vermeer is saving that chipped shot by. I think that was Leao, right?
Yeah. And it could be better laid plans. It could be ball distribution, whatever. But Brian, as you said, TT's been better by the numbers in that way. So. Yeah, I don't know. And TT's just bigger, longer. He just takes up more space. He can get there. Vermeer's, he's just a different body altogether, and he doesn't look like the normal goalkeeper even. You know what I mean? He's not like big and like lanky. He's like really like tight and compact, and like TT can just do magic. And like I just don't think we've seen that from Vermeer either, just as far as like ability to like make a crazy kick save or stand on his head, I think TT's much more athletic. So yeah.
I kind of have to wonder about the roster building around it all, because Nijkamp, Teton's deal was done. He re-signs him. Then he brings in Cropper. And then we get Lund back from loan, and he becomes a domestic player. If Jaap Stam knew he wasn't going to be happy with Teton as a starting goalkeeper, I know Vermeer wasn't available. He wasn't put on waivers until he wasn't cleared from waivers. He wasn't cut until I think April. But if we knew that Teton wasn't going to be our answer at goal, I don't know why we waited this long, why we offered him an extension. It seems like an entire mess.
If you were going to start Ben, then TT would have been a really good insurance policy because Ben is domestic. So I could see that, I guess. But yeah, agents talk to each other. A lot of players know their free agent destination before they're cut. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a stretch to say that there's a personal relationship between Kenneth and Jaap. And I think that the destination was known. And I know that I think credit to Jeff Carlisle at ESPN for breaking it a few days ahead of time. I think even before like the roster move was made on LA's part. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's an experiment, but I think that it's clear that, they're at least open-minded, and that's better than, beating a dead horse. But again, like, I don't think TT was a dead horse. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, there's other positions where they could have maybe been so extravagant with a backup,
Yeah. Well, Tyler, appreciate you being on the show. For folks who aren't familiar with your work, why don't you fill us in? Where can we read what you do?
Yeah, I'm over at SBISoccer.com. I will write the occasional thing covering FC Cincinnati. I'm at every game. That's the team I watched the closest. But in the coming weeks, historic Crew Stadium's going to close. I know FC Cincinnati fans love Columbus Crew content, but I've got a couple of good stories that are going to be coming out about that. And then on the International Champions Cup front, this summer is going to be really exciting with the women's tournament taking place. We've got some mega teams. So I'm going to be be less beating it on FC Cincinnati, but I will be closely watching. But I'm going to be showing a lot of different stuff and looking to be a lot more league wide as the season gets going and we start talking about a playoff picture eventually.
Well, awesome stuff. You can also catch Tyler every Wednesday morning with myself on the FC Cincy Media Meal on Twitter Spaces. Make sure you check that out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Tyler, thanks so much for being on the show, and we got to do it again real soon, buddy.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have me back on whenever you guys want.
And that's Tyler Snipes from SBI Soccer. Appreciate you, Tyler. Have a good one. All right. That segment, of course, brought to you by Rhinehaus. Appreciate their support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I will say this the timing could not have been more perfect to have Jeff Tebbets on this week's show because FC Cincinnati are playing the Revs. And for those of you who don't know, Jeff Tebbets is from the New England area. He's proud of it. He wears it proudly. Jeff, how excited are you for this matchup?
I've got my car parked at Harvard Yard all week.
Did you get the smart park?
I got the smart park. It's wicked awesome. Yeah, I just need to, sort of get into sort of maybe a New England state of mind. So just pardon me for a moment.
Kick him off the show.
Oh no! Don't
kick him off the show.
No, take it away.
Off the show.
That's
what?
Better.
It was my idea to bring you on the show, and I'm regretting it right now.
For those listening at home, Jeff did the worst costume change in Cincinnati Soccer Talk history. He has removed the inaugural MLS home kit to reveal a Benedict Arnold level New England Revolution kit underneath and the hat to top it off. What a red coat.
I mean, you got to get a guy from South Boston here to talk about the Revs. Come on, guys.
I mean, it's the amazing of of what you just accomplished here. You went from last place to first place in the span of 4 seconds. Truly amazing.
You could argue. You could argue. Let me make the argument here that the Revs have been in last place for quite some time. If it wasn't for Jay Heaps and Brad Friedel being their wicked bad coaches.
Oh my God.
What is happening?
Call me when you get a stadium in downtown Boston because that's the Cincinnati comeback right there.
How do you like them apples? Huh?
How
do you like them apples?
So I touched on it with Tyler earlier a little bit. So if you don't know, I am super excited, looking forward to this game because Jeff Cameron, we're gonna go Bruce Arena because there's no love lost between these two gentlemen. So Jeffrey, I can't wait to see these two. How much has Bruce changed, the culture of this club after taking that job after his momentous failure with the U.S. men's national team?
Did this just turn into March to Match Day?
Hey, get out of here!
It might have got it. It might have got it.
I'm just asking about Bruce Arena, baby.
I really think that the missing link that the Revs have been searching for is a coach with experience. Steve Nicol had been an interim for them for the longest time, and they had gone through coaching changes and nothing seemed to stick. Finally, Nicol got that infusion of talent to build off of and made some pretty good teams. But now, they went through Heaps, they went through Friedel, and now they've got someone with the experience and the know-how of who to bring into the team. Arena's gotten rid of a lot of the excess cargo from the past few years. There's only, I think, 3 or 4 players that were even on the radar back when they last went to the MLS Cup in 2014. So he's done a lot of sea change within this group. He's certainly woke up, I think, the entire region up there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these guys. There's a lot of attractive young names on this roster, according their designated players. So it's going to be I think a mountain to climb to get our first victory over this weekend.
Do we think Jeff Cameron or Bruce Arena gets the first yellow card?
Oh God, I just hope Cameron gets a goal and runs over and just stares him down. So if you don't know this,
this goes back.
Jeff has written a piece in the Players Tribune about his distaste for Bruce Arena and not playing him in that game in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm excited to see what goes on here with these two guys, and if there's some some stare down if Jeff can come. I mean, it's just, to me, the storylines for this game. I'm jealous I can't be there. Are either two of you guys going? Jeff is. Oh, of course Jeff is. Yeah. So, we'll see what he wears. Jeff, are you going to go in royal blue or navy blue?
I'll be in the Bailey. I'll be wearing probably the blue suit, so that I don't have any affiliations presented. And not to mention, I mean, this is sort of an apologetic thing for me, because last time I brought this jersey to a Revs FC Cincinnati game, I sort of let people stand on it and march on it, and I got a lot of slack from that.
It sounds like you should be wearing a red coat, Jeff Tebbets.
I am your Benedict Arnold, bucko.
My God.
Benedict Arnold.
But I mean, I'm in the mode now. I have to talk about the Revs. They've got a really good offense coming through this right now. They've with the 3 DPs, they're starting to finally click on all pieces. You've got they re-signed Carlos Heel to an extension for his DP position. He's MVP talk already, probably one of 3 in the conversation. He's basically become their Zell Ryan for the Revs. Gustavo Bo has become their big burly number 9 up front, and then you've got Adam Buxa, who's starting to turn into form. But at the same time, this was a team that they were wondering if they were going to be defensive enough, and they're starting to show some youth on their back line. All around Andrew Farrell, who's been with the team since I think 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a team that's built for success. Can't say that the Revs have been successful in the past, but they're built for it now.
All right, I have to let our viewers know, Jeff has gone full mass hole. He has turned his Revolution cap backwards. He looks like Ben Affleck does now, but without the J-Lo hookup. Like, he just looks sad and old, and he's got the backwards hat. Like, he's trying to be. He looks like Steve Buscemi from 30 Rock. Like, hey, how you all doing, fellow kids? I'm from Boston. Yeah. What are we doing here, masshole? What's going on?
I mean, Clay, aren't you supposed to go out and go for a dunks run for me, man? Come on.
It's dunkies.
I can't breathe. I can't
Dunks.
breathe.
It's dunks up if you're up from north. Come on. It's dunks.
God. Okay.
It's dunkies.
You want some
Separate
vanilla
these
nut
two,
taps?
Nick.
You want some vanilla nut
Separate these
taps?
two. Oh,
Are we done? We good?
Oh my
we're
God. That was
You allowed this traitor on the show. That's
Clay actually did something funny.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
Laurel Failer reporting that
Yes.
Matarrita and Cruz are expected to be here this weekend.
Yeah, I think a lot of us originally thought that they might go to the Costa Rican camp early because the Nations League next Wednesday or Thursday. So glad to hear that they'll be here for this match. I think they're
needed.
They'll be needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's gonna be
Mata.
it's gonna be a rough summer when he finally does leave. I guess
Who?
Matarrita.
Both of them.
More
Both of
specifically,
them.
I obviously as the conductor of the Alan Cruz, not the conductor of the captain of the cruise ship.
I don't know about that.
Definitely, I'm gonna miss him. But with Matarrita gone, I guess we're gonna have to get very familiar with Edgar Castillo, and hopefully that doesn't take too much of a dip.
I don't know if you're the conductor of that cruise ship. Pretty sure that was Ken Hedker. Ken's been on the cruise bandwagon since day one. He even has the wrong kit name on the back because he didn't know it was going to be a cruise.
Who else predicted him to be the most improved player of the year? Is it just me? I'm pretty sure it's just me.
Is he there yet?
It's too early.
I'm not saying it's
me.
decided. I'm saying I was the one who backed that campaign.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I'm glad though that we're fighting over this because it shows that we're improving. You know, at the end of the day, is the train going as fast as we want? No, but I think we're discussing like metrics and everything, and points and goals and all this stuff here and there. A couple weeks ago with Coach, we looked out and tried to find what's the right direction, and you're seeing what you said: improvement out of Matarrita, production out of that left winger. Alan Cruz turning the corner in midfield. Kuba turning the corner in midfield. Now, if we can just get that final touch to get Acosta to Brenner, I mean, I think that the train really could be picking up steam. We're going to have 2 weeks or what? No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks off.
The international break after.
Let some of the guys get away for a week or two, charge their batteries, come back in, and turn a lot more of these negatives into that positive, and just keep going. So I'm a lot more hopeful than I was 3 weeks ago, especially after a tough fought game versus Miami, a tough fought win this past weekend versus Montreal. So see how it goes, man. I want to keep that ball rolling.
I still think we have a shot at beating the Revs. They can be beat. Carles Hill had a little bit of an injury concern. He seems to be okay, but if you're able to get around and get through some of the defense there, I think, and you could legitimately get a few goals in. They've given up 7 goals, and even though Matt Turner is a really good goalkeeper, they can push some offense through that goal.
Gave up a set piece goal this weekend.
Just got to spike that iced coffee in the locker room. That'll get them.
On that note, let's move on. Again, make sure you check it out. Cincinnati Soccer Talk, March to Match Day, a little bit later this week. Brad in Boston, although I don't think it's going to be. Who's off this week, Clay?
Brad is off this week. I will be
in
filling
Boston
in once again.
Oh, he's traveling tomorrow, isn't he?
I'm coming for Brad's job, basically.
Oh, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
I have fans. I don't know if y'all know this. Sam Adams Tap Room, the patio outside. I got groupies.
Just because your mom texted you doesn't mean you have fans.
And
she's very proud of her big boy. Okay, very proud.
Let's not forget who's got actual Sam Adams in his brain kit. Hey.
Okay. Make sure you check out March to Match Day a little bit later on this week as we preview the match coming up against the New England Revolution. And then, of course, we have Talking Tactics with Coach Goff as well a little bit later on this week. Coach will break down what went right, what went wrong against Montreal, and look ahead to a good matchup this weekend against the Revs. We do have some other news and notes around the Cincinnati soccer landscape. How about Kingshammer FC?
Mm-hmm.
2-1 on the season. They take on the Michigan Bucks Tuesday night at Corcoran Field. They're on the campus of the university. I should say the Xavier University campus. Right, Brian? I want to make sure I get that right. It's not UX, it's XU. I'm getting there.
I think they're the Flint City Bucks now, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes,
Flint City Bucks. You're right. Sorry, I mistaken.
They're still a
City Bucks. Yes,
they're still a pretty good team. I think 2 years ago they won the entire USL 2.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So Kingshammer FC takes them on at 7:00 Tuesday night. So if you're listening to this on Tuesday, you can still head to the match. Again, Kingshammer FC 2-1 on the young season. And so we always big fans of what they're doing over at Kingshammer. And of course, we'll have the coverage over on our website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Brian, why don't you fill us in on the Cincinnati Sirens?
Yeah, they're doing work. The women's team out here in my neck of the woods, they play their home matches at Lakota West. They've kicking butt. They started the season 2-0, beating rivals Dayton and Columbus. So great start for the ladies this past weekend. And they're off this weekend, but I think they come back next Wednesday as their home opener. So go check them out if you have the ability to as well. They're again at Lakota West out here in Westchester Liberty area. And just keep supporting the women. And I think they got a great program going, and I'm excited to see how they can kind of take their program to the next step too. So two huge wins.
Where can we find? They've got a website, right?
Yeah, it is CincinnatiSirens.com, and I normally follow their stuff on Twitter. So definitely check them out. And we're going to do our best to get to some Sirens games this weekend and add that to our coverage as well. I know Ryan Sparks is doing a fantastic job with King's Hammer coverage, wants to get involved with that. So make sure you check that out as well. It's that time of the show, gents. It's one of my favorite times of the show. Bri, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about, Bri? No.
Apple Podcast reviews.
Oh, geez, Louise. There's one more thing you passed over, but that's cool.
You got to read the private chat.
Oh, got it. There you go.
Yeah. I love this segment because we get to make fun of other teams and other things going on. But guess what? We didn't get any new reviews this week. So you got to get over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcast. If you leave an awesome review, we will send you a CST shirt. So get on it. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review, and we'll read it on next week's episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
You got to include something with Boston. Have a yacht or something with it, though.
Boston or our own Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle.
Something New England. So it has to be brash and rude and not care about what anybody thinks about it.
Oh, something like baked beans or Dorchester, or make sure you write it out with the R sound, written out.
Yes, I like that idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Again, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcasts is where you can do just that. Let's wrap things up here. I will start with Clay Winstead. Clay, you bailed in the middle of the show. We know you just moved to a new place, probably dealing with some internet gremlins.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate you being on the show and being on March to Match Day this week. You got any final thoughts?
Thank you. Yeah. Moving is filled with lots of joy and surprises. I'm going to have a couple more heapings of crow. I have a lot of very strongly worded opinions and I stick to my ground, but there's a couple things that I've noticed that I'm just happy to be wrong about. It's always nice when you're wrong and the results are positive. I love the fight Jeff Cameron's bringing on the pitch. I want to bring him up particularly. Him defending Vermeer when he got kicked, I think by Kyoto at one point, pushing him immediately and telling him to back off as goalkeeper. Yeah. He's always the first one to celebrate with a teammate. Look at the highlights from TQL. He's there with Barreal. He's there with Nick Hagland. It's the kind of character and team building that you kind of get to see that I'm just a big fan of. And you kind of like having your own a-hole on a team, like the guy that you want that everyone else hates. It is kind of fun. I'm enjoying the Jeff Cameron experience so far on the pitch. On the pitch. And so it's good to be wrong. And I'm glad that he's still got some fight left in those 35-year-old legs.
Well, glad to have you back on the show. Enjoy March to Match Day, Clay, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Jeffrey Tebbets, final thoughts.
I don't, sorry about my brother back then. He sort of came in on that and interrupted. Sorry about that, guys. I'm Cincinnati till I die. I want to bring up now that the European leagues have all ended, and we know how Spurs did, and we know how a lot of the teams have ended their seasons. But this means that we now have international breaks coming up, and they announced the U.S. men's team for the Nations League games coming up. Some pretty typical names, common names you're expecting there, but you're also getting all of the European players from the European leagues coming back. So you'll see your Zach Steffen in goal. You'll see Serginho Dest. You'll see Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna. You'll see a lot of these big names playing here in the United States. So even if we're not able to be there in person to cheer them on, I hope that June 3rd, we watch this game against Honduras and we cheer on our men.
Well said, Jeff. And I know this is a fun weekend for you, but have fun. And thanks for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Brian Weigel, final thoughts? Coach Brian Weigel, or is that over with now?
It just ended last week. So
hung up the whistle,
4-4. We finished 4-4. No, Wednesday night, starting here 2 weeks, I'm doing a 3v3 thing with Brian. Five player team 3v3 for like 6-7 weeks. So, and then I'm going to be doing some Corver. So with Brian, so I'm pumped for that. So no, just excited to be back. And if this is your first time to the stadium, enjoy it. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Check it out. Just check it out. Let us know what you think about the stadium. It's just, again, I know everybody didn't get to experience it that first game. So this is going to be the first experience for many of you. And I just, it's an amazing feeling to walk in there and just cherish it. Remember it, take your time, check things out. And just remember, if you don't get to see everything, we come back here in 3-4 weeks and really have the opening of the stadium and a real big celebration. So can't wait to see y'all here. And I won't see you this week, but we'll see you here in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. Appreciate you being on, buddy.
See you, pal.
My final thoughts tonight, ending on a sad note. Never easy to discuss these types of stories, these unfortunate stories, but we did get some sad news over the weekend out of the University of Cincinnati women's soccer program. Allison Sidlowski, a sophomore, heading into her sophomore or junior year season of women's soccer, unfortunately passed away in a swimming accident out at East Fork Lake here in Claremont County. Just unfortunate, sad news when you hear this type of tragic stuff. Immediately, my thought went to my daughter, who also happens to share a name and share initials with this young lady. So it really hit home to me. I can't imagine what their friends, her teammates, her family is going through right now. All of us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, our thoughts are with the Sidlowskis and everyone affected by this. There has been a GoFundMe set up in honor of Allison. It's a scholarship memorial. Hashtag We Play for 3. And we will have the GoFundMe link in this week's show notes if you would like to contribute to that, to the scholarship fund being set up in Allison's name. And once again, from all of us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, our thoughts and prayers are with the Bearcats program and friends and family of Allison Sidlowski this week. That's going to do it for this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. My thanks to Tyler Snipes for joining us. And for Brian Weigel, Jeff Tebbetts, and Clay Winstead, I'm Nick Serberling. Thanks for tuning in to Cincinnati Soccer Talk presented by Fulcrum Fives. Watch your tackles. Have a happy and safe Memorial Day, and we'll see you all next week.